So now that we've seen how to calculate GDP, we have to make sure that we understand a key difference when you hear about this GDP value. And that key difference relates to nominal versus real GDP. So in this next series of slides, we're going to learn how to calculate nominal and calculate real GDP. And the big thing to keep in mind in all of this is that nominal, every time that we'll talk about nominal in this class, we'll be looking at the certain value of a good as you see it. So if you were to add up all the value of everything that's produced in the economy, you would, for a given year, you'd have the nominal GDP. And the real GDP is when you adjust that figure that you're looking at for inflation. You're trying to strip away that inflation component. So the textbook might say that nominal is a price thing and real is a quantity thing. I agree, but I disagree at the same time in the sense that nominal really is in that current values terms. So if we're talking about nominal interest rates, it's what you see when you go to the bank. Whereas the real interest rate or the real GDP is when you strip away that inflation component. So if total spending rises from one year to the next, or total GDP goes up from one year to the next, one of the two things must be true. The economy is either producing a larger output of goods and services, or the goods and services are being sold at a higher price. That's the case when we have nominal GDP. So when studying these changes over time, economists wanted to separate these two effects, and that's why we have real GDP. Because otherwise, if we were just to look at nominal GDP, well, since prices go up and the quantities may go up from one year to the next, it's really hard to establish what's due to a change in price and what's due to a change in quantity. So nominal GDP is expressed in current dollars. Real GDP is expressed in dollars adjusted for whatever that base year is. And essentially, this simple example will give you a better idea. Okay, so if we have this example, we have three different goods out there that we're producing. And the next few slides actually go through this answer, but I'll go through it on this slide here with you guys. This economy produces three goods, and the big thing that's important in all of this is we have to make sure that we add up a certain weight. So if I look at the value of these goods in 2000, well, this will be my nominal in 2000. So what would be the total value? Well, it's $10 times 100 units plus $2 times 200 units plus $5 times 100 units. So that total amount would be here 1,400, 1,900. Over here, nominal for 2001, is 15 times 150 plus 3 times 220, 6 times 100. So if I add all of this up, I'll get I believe it's 3,510. That is my total. So if I have this total and I go from one to the next, I could think, well, wow, from this year to the next, the value of my GDP is pretty much doubled. It's a great thing. Like we're in a great situation. There's a massive growth going on. But if you look at this, there is different goods out there that have increased in prices. So this good here has increased by 50%. This good here has increased by 50%. This good here has increased by 20%. So we know that inflation has to be somewhere between 20 and 50% because depending on the weights of each, we have a certain value between 20 and 50% for each of the goods. So it has to be somewhere in between all of that. So what we're going to learn to use now is real GDP, which will be very important when we calculate inflation using the GDP deflator approach. And the real GDP here is going to measure essentially the value of 2001 product. So this is going to be 2001 quantity, but it doesn't want to use 2001 prices because otherwise we're back at nominal GDP. We're going to set a base year here, year 2000 as prices. So in a simple context, if you only have 2 years, just set the first year as the base year. That keeps it nice and simple if it's not given to you. So in this case here, if I set year 2000 as the base year, that means I use year 2000's prices. Well, over here for nominal, for the real of 2000, I'd have quantity of 2000 and prices of 2000. Essentially, my real and my nominal for 2000 will be equal to one another. But if I think about it in this case here, let me just see. I'll have the prices of year 2000, so 10 times the quantity of year 2001. Okay, so I have these combinations, so 1500 plus 440 will be 1940. So 2440 would be my total here. Okay. So just to kind of create a little bit of a segue, let's say I go from 1900 to 2440 to 3510. Well, the big thing that I know is going from here to here, there's a change in both prices and quantities. However, how much of that big change is attributed to changes in prices and how much of it is attributed to changes in quantities? Well, going from here to here, what's going on? I'm looking at prices of 2000, quantity of 2000, to prices of 2000 and quantities of 2001. So this change here going from 1900 to 2440 is due to a change in quantity. So like a 540 increase, which is big. But this bigger change here of like a 1070 is really due to a change in price, because going from this real GDP to this nominal GDP for 2001, I've used the same quantities from 2001, but the prices have changed. So I could see that most of my increase of nominal GDP was due to an increase in prices. So the next video is going to look at how to calculate the inflation using the GDP deflate approach, and it's going to use some of these numbers as we go through.